Seventh grade, we are on lesson 4.1, unit rates. A little bit of a review from last year, dust off some cobwebs, and then we will build on that. Unit rate is a ratio with a denominator of 1, and it's an amount that's per 1 unit. An example would be 45 miles per hour, singular, not hours, but hour. And that can be written as a ratio of 45 miles per hour, 1 hour. And so that's what they mean by ratio with a denominator of 1. It's a 1 unit, a single unit thing. So we're going 45 miles per every 1 hour. Some key words that you will hear when we're talking about rates. You heard already per. You also might hear for every or for each or something like that. So the first section of this lesson is exploring rates, and their goal is how would we find and use a unit rate for this lesson. So they give us this problem. We read it first because that's what we do every time. Step 1, Jeff hikes 1/2 mile every 15 minutes or 1/4 hour. 15 minutes is 1/4 hour. Lisa hikes 1/3 mile every 10 minutes or 1/6 of an hour. How far do they each hike in 1 hour and in 2 hours? Underline what they're asking us to do. How far do they each hike in 1 hour and then also in 2 hours? Circle the information they gave us. He does 1/2 mile every 1/4 hour, 15 minutes. Lisa hikes 1/3 mile every 1/6 of an hour, which is also 10 minutes. Quick review of that if I have a clock. 15 minutes is 1 out of the 4 equal pieces of a clock. That's why they gave it to you both ways. They gave it to us both ways probably because it'd be easier for us to calculate with 1/4 hour, and maybe they're thinking that might be helpful for you guys to have the fraction already given to you. Lisa is going every 10 minutes. If I split the clock into the 10-minute increments, every 10 minutes is 1/6 of an hour. Again, they gave that to us, but always good to do a quick review on that. So then our next step would be to draw it, but it looks like they've kind of done that for us. They said, okay, in 1/4 of an hour, this is Jeff. In 1/4 of an hour, he did 1/2 a mile. In another 1/4 of an hour, he did another 1/2 a mile because it said he's going a 1/2 a mile every 1/4 of an hour. And what I know is that a 1/2 a mile and a 1/2 a mile put together is 1 full mile, so I may as well mark that. Same over here for a total of 2 miles. All right. So if we complete the table with this information, we know that 1/2 mile and 1/4 hours, distance 1/2 mile and 1/4 hours. In 1/2 a mile, which is here, in 1/2 of an hour, which was here, these two together, he was traveling 1 mile. In 3/4 of an hour, he traveled 1.5 miles. In 1 hour, the full amount, he traveled 2 miles. And if he did 2 miles in 1 hour, then how much will he do in 2 hours if he maintains that rate? You're right, 4 miles is how much he'll do. Now we're going to complete the bar diagram for Lisa. They went ahead and drew out our hour split into 6 equal pieces. We know that she travels 1/3 of a mile every 1/6 of an hour, so we will put 1/3 in there. And then 1/3 for the next one, 1/3 for the next one. 3/3 is going to give me 1 full, right? So I'm going to mark that down. Then another 1/3, another 1/3, another 1/3. That's 3/3. That's another 1 full. In 1 hour, how far does she travel? 2 miles. Now all we need to do is fill in the table with this information. In 1/6 of an hour, she did 1/3 of a mile. 1/6 of an hour, 1/3 of a mile. In 1/3 of an hour, so that's the hour split into 3 equal pieces. 1, 2, 3 equal pieces. So she did 2/3 of a mile. In 1/2 of an hour, that's this part, 1/2 of an hour, she went 1 full mile. In 1 full hour, that's double the half, right? In 1 full hour, she did 2 miles. And if she did 2 miles in 1 hour, then in 2 hours, if she's going that same rate, she will do 4 miles. So how can I find a unit rate? Well, one way is I can just divide. So here's an example. If I know information that we traveled 60 miles in 2 hours time, I can just go ahead and do 60 divided by 2 to find out how much that is in 1 hour's time to get the unit rate. And that would be 30. So that would be 30 miles in 1 hour. So sometimes to find unit rate, simply dividing to get this down to the 1 unit is all we need to do. Sometimes you might be given information in half-hour increments. You could still divide it. Let's say they give the example of doing a 15 miles in half an hour, 15 miles per every 1/2 hour. And still, even with that fraction being there, don't let that scare you off. It's still, to find the unit rate, I could divide it. So I would do 15 over 1 divided by 1/2. Remember our skills. When we have divide, we would rather multiply. We keep this as this fraction, change this to multiply, and flip that on its head. It's reciprocal. 15, keep. Change to multiply, flip on his head, his reciprocal. 15 times 2 is 30 over 1. So I end up with 30 miles in 1 hour as the unit rate. I shouldn't have written that there. Sorry, 30 miles in 1 hour as a unit rate, single unit. So I still use division. Now I know several of you that thought, oh, well, if it's in a half hour, I do 15, then double it to an hour, and I get double that to be the hour, and now I get 30. Sure, that's another way to do it. Sometimes it's very easy to see what's going to happen, but I just wanted to show you, just in case it's not as easy to see, you can simply do the division with that fraction. So one example they gave us in this section is while remodeling her kitchen, Angela is repainting. She estimates that she paints 55 square feet every half hour. How many square feet does Angela paint per hour? So step 1 was read the problem. Step 2, underline the question. How many square feet does Angela paint per 1 hour? Circle the information that they gave you. She estimates that she paints 55 square feet every half hour. Let's write that as a ratio. 55 square feet, feet squared, every 1/2 hour. They want my unit rate. How much does she do per hour? So I can go ahead and divide this, 55 divided by 1/2, or for those of you who say, well, that's half hour, to make it 1 hour, I would double it. Okay, either one's going to work. Double both or do division. So I'm going to go 55 divided by 1/2. Make that a fraction. Keep, change to multiply, flip the reciprocal. I'm going to get 110 over 1, which is 110. So I find out that she does 110, oops, that's not 110, Ms. Sanchez, 110 feet square per 1 hour. And that's it. And the final example of this lesson is these 2 swimming pools that are leaking. Oh no. After 15 minutes, pool A has leaked 2/3 of a gallon. After 20 minutes, pool B has leaked 3/4 of a gallon. Which pool is leaking faster. Ugh, mind blowing. Don't worry, it's okay. We have several steps to go. It's going to all come together. We did step 1. We read the problem. Step 2, underline the question. Which pool is leaking faster? Step 3, circle the information you've been given. Well, I have pool A that after 15 minutes has leaked 2/3 of a gallon. And then pool B after 20 minutes has leaked 3/4 of a gallon. Now, remember earlier, 15 minutes we put as a fraction of an hour. That is, here's my clock. 15 minutes is like that. If I were to cut that the rest of the way, that is 1/4, 1 out of 4 pieces of an hour. On a clock, 20 minutes looks like that. And if I were to cut it the rest of the way, 20, 40, 60 minutes makes an hour, right? So 20 minutes is 1 out of 3 pieces of an hour. That might be helpful to me. Okay, so now I have that information there. I need to draw my pools. Pool A, because maybe I just am still too much information. And pool B. There is pool A. There is pool B. And coming out of pool A slowly but surely is 2/3 gallon leaking every 1/4 of an hour. And coming out of pool B is 3/4 of a gallon every 1/3 of an hour. Okay, so they want me to compare them, which one's leaking faster. It's hard to tell because this is in different increments than that one. So it'd be easy if I could find their unit rate and find out how much they're leaking over a full hour. So here's what I'll do is I'll go ahead and find their unit rate and do 2/3 divided by 1/4 to see how much this leaks in an hour. Pool A leaks in an hour. And I'll do the same, 3/4 divided by 1/3 to find out how much pool B leaks in an hour. Then I'll know who's leaking faster. So we're doing 2/3 divided by 1/4. Keep 2/3 the same, change divide to multiply, flip 1/4 on his head, multiply straight across. 2 times 4 is 8, 3 times 1 is 3. That's an improper fraction. Remember to fix an improper fraction. Divide the bottom into top. Whatever the remainder is becomes your new numerator. So 8 divided by 3 goes in 2 times. That gives me 6. There's 2 out of the 3 left over. 2 2/3. This is losing 2 2/3 each hour. Let's compare it to this guy over here. We're doing 3/4 divided by 1/3. Keep 3/4 the way it is. Change, divide to multiply. Flip 1/3 on his head, reciprocal. Multiply straight across. 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 1 is 4. That is an improper fraction. Divide the bottom into top. Remainder is the numerator. 9 divided by 4 goes in twice. Gives me 8 with 1 out of the 4 left over. This one is leaking 2 1/4 each hour. So, which one leaks more in an hour? Well, 2 2/3 is almost 3 full, and 2 1/4 is 2 and tiny bit more. So, pool A is leaking faster. A lot of work to get that one answer. But very good practice for you on a lot of things. Reminder on the time, how to handle these word problems. Don't forget the draw it section. That's what helps me. Then we got the practice on finding unit rates. Also practice on dividing with fractions. All kinds of good practice here. That's great. I need you practicing all this stuff and being good at it because next year I've got to add on top of this too. So good on the practice. All right, well, good luck with this lesson. Let me know if you need help.